So this is a great example of where we have these tricky questions, right, that we really struggle to answer because they touch on something really fundamental. And what we find with questions like this, can we help people because we need to help our own? Our instinct, right, is to answer this rationally and say, well, look, actually, refugees or migrants, the migrants contribute to our society. They'll make everyone wealthier. The problem with these rational approaches to answering those questions is that we have this confirmation bias. So telling people that their emotional fears are wrong rarely actually solves them, but it also makes the argument all around those fears. We're having a debate in a frame that works against us, and that frame is also reinforced by, the frame is about this idea of the economy as something that's like a cake that's cut up and given to people, but also there's a worldview underlying it, a scarcity frame. So this sense that we're in this world of limited resources, which a lot of economic thinking is falsely built on. But this is another problem with the crisis message. It also applies to climate change. So, if we tell people we're running out of resources, people's instincts, we better drill as much oil as we can before it runs out. So both in terms of climate change and migration, this is an example of where it's not how do we convince people that this is not true, it's how do we change the frame away from scarcity to one of abundance. What we need to do in terms of climate change, the message would be, we live in a wonderful planet full of resources. If we would only steward and manage them better, we have enough for everyone. And so similarly, what we need to do on migration is to move the frame away from how much can we afford to give and make it more about how much of our cooperation and solidarity and can we mobilize in our society. And we're still testing the exact wording on that. But the point is that this is where we have this challenge. When we only focusing on issue by issue, we lose sight of those wider frames we need to build in society. And that's why it's so important that we build all our work on human rights, not just on a menu of issues, but again, on this wider way of thinking we need to build, because we need people to think more in an abundance frame, that our societies together can do this. And it's not, so basically we're trying to move it away from money and what we can afford to a frame of caring and taking care of each other. And obviously you need to experiment on that. The basic point is, to me, in terms of would this work? So all of the examples I showed you, it's not that you would transplant them exactly, but to me, there are certain universal values that underlie people that are universal to us. It's a bit, remember the ice cream, we're all ice cream, just different flavors. Things like generosity, admiration, working together, care, those I believe are universal. And particularly for us, we work on human rights, and I think, again, a lot of our story around human rights need to shift from the rights part to the human part. And actually that universality also needs to be part of our message.